What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NFL Talk with Jay Money. Gonna talk the college football game tonight as well. Here, Steve. What's up with you, my bro? We got Steve Merrill with us from Wager Talk as well. What's up with you, Steve? How you doing, brother?
What's up is that you and I have not missed a pick yet in the WagerTalk.com Westgate Super Contest. A mere 17-3, but what are we? We're 8-0, you and me, Jay. So hey, look, let's keep it rolling. Hopefully, I didn't jinx us there, but yeah, we've been seeing it pretty well in the NFL to say the least. 8-0 combined, the two of us.
Right, yeah. I noticed, Steve. It hadn't been us, man. We hadn't missed a pick, but let's keep it going, man. Always trying to win everything, man. Every single time, every single day. But real quick, we do have a college football game tonight. It's Wednesday night football. It's not the MAC. We do have SMU going up against Central Florida in this one, Steve. You have any thoughts on this game?
You just wonder about the mindset of both of these teams, right? And obviously, Central Florida is an Orlando-based school. I know the hurricane hit the left side of the coast there, but our friend Tony Mejia was underwater basically in Orlando last week. He didn't lose power, though, so they didn't get hit terribly, but they got impacted, obviously. And this game has been moved a couple times because of it. But you also have to wonder about the travel distractions for SMU and everything. Not going to try to guess which team is focused. These two teams, by the way, Jay, are combined 6-2 to the under this year, even though they both have been putting up some points. Pretty good offenses on both sides, so a little surprised that the under's been hitting. This total's gone from 64 to 62, so maybe some value now with the over in that case.
Yeah. This is a tough game in all honesty, but I like SMU in this spot, man. I put a little something on SMU plus the 3. They are coming off 2 losses. Played both teams pretty good though. If you look at the way TCU are smacking teams up, the fact that they stay within one score in that game actually shows a lot as well. And Maryland as well, not a bad team with Baby 2 over there, as I call them. They really could have won that game. Couple late touchdowns for Maryland. And it was a tie game late. Maryland got the touchdown there. So I think SMU is a little bit better than they're being in the market than the market thinks right now. Has seen some things about players leaving. I don't think they're anything too big in my opinion. This one's simple. You make the quarterback for Central Florida, turn him into a passer, and you should win this game. So load up the box, make sure these guys don't beat you on the run. I definitely don't see Central Florida beating these guys with the pass tonight. So they're coming off a win versus Georgia Tech. They should have blown those guys out. I think Central Florida is a little down this year. So I made a small play on SMU plus the 3, my guys. No, I'm not. It's not revenge tonight for me. I like SMU plus the 3. Made a small play on them, but I do like this situation for them. And like you said, Steve, maybe some distractions for Central Florida over there. But regardless, I do like SMU to win this game, my guys. Let's go over here now. Let's talk some NFL. We got the London game, early game, Steve. Another Sunday where we have football all day. Have the Giants going up against the Packers here. How you looking at this one?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tie this into your college play tonight. SMU's down to 2.5 in a lot of spots, and I don't normally recommend college football teasers, but 2.5 up to 8.5 is not a bad teaser play still with SMU. So if you can't get that plus 3, which is still available in some spots out there, critical number obviously, you could think about SMU as a teaser play up to plus 8.5. And the reason I bring that up, Jay, is because I think the Packers make one of the better NFL teasers this weekend at -8, getting them down to -2 or less. Anywhere -2.5 or less makes a really good teaser here. And always some uncertainty with this international game. My opinion, kind of like the Thursday night game, is when you have a weird travel factor for teams, normally the better team wins, and I think the Packers are the better team. Not sure I want to lay a full 8, though. The Giants are somewhat of a live dog, but getting that teaser down to 2.5 or less, I think the Packers make a lot of sense. Could tie that up with SMU tonight on Wednesday, and there's some other NFL games we'll talk about here this week, and I think they're good teasers as well.
Yeah, that's a good point here. We're not even sure who's going to play quarterback for Giants, guys. Both of their quarterbacks are injured. Daniel Jones did have a high ankle sprain. He does have a possibility playing this game, but his backup, Tyrod Taylor, is injured as well. And he's still in concussion protocol. They did say he's progressing, but both quarterbacks banged up. That's not what I want to hear, especially on a short week when you have to travel. You know what I'm saying? Damn near across. You got to travel across the pond over there. So Packers didn't look well. I hopped on the Giants, so we cashed with them as well. They also had 3 straight road games, so they hadn't had to do any traveling other than that first week in Tennessee, and now they're traveling across the pond. You got the Packers here. Maybe they were the team that was looking ahead to this game. That's the way I look at it. Kind of basically just brushed by the Patriots in that one. I have a heavy lean to the Packers in this one. I agree with you, Steve. Steve. You want to find some type of way to put the Packers in a teaser. People ask what teasers are, Steve. A lot of people don't know. Could you explain real quick what a teaser is?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying, first of all, a teaser is a sucker bet, Jay, and you should never play them, except in the NFL. That's what's so funny about it. And I'm being dead serious, folks. Like, the teasers in general are not good plays. I don't recommend them in the NBA. I don't recommend in college basketball. I usually, like I just said, don't recommend them in college football. The reason they work so well in the NFL, and first of all, what a teaser is they tease you. You get to add 6 points to each point spread. You're like, that's a great deal. It is a great deal. The problem is you got to win both games. So it's a 2-game parlay. And as you know, Jay, parlays normally are not a good play either. You're usually better off playing the game straight. So here's the catch, though, with the NFL. The lines are so accurate in the NFL compared to any other sport, and there's key numbers. 10% of the time a favorite wins by 3 in the NFL. About 4 to 5% of the time a favorite's going to win by 7. We all know the key numbers, 3, 7, 10. So when you can get an underdog from 2.5 up to 8.5, you're covering 3, 4, 6, 7. Vice versa, you can take a favorite down from 7.5, 8 down to below 2.5. You're covering 6, 7, 4, 3 down. So in this case, the Packers go from -8 to -2 on a 6-point teaser. You get them in basic straight-up win situation. The catch is you got to tie it up with another game. We'll talk about one in a little bit. Tampa Bay -8.5 down to 2.5 puts them in a straight-up win spot against Atlanta. SMU 2.5 up to 8.5. Not as great because it's college football, and one of the reasons is because it's a high total, 62. There's more points. The line is less accurate. Those extra 6 points are less valuable when there's more points being scored. But that's the general premise behind teasers. In general, they're sucker bets. However, the NFL is the one sport in which you have a mathematical edge playing teasers on key numbers. And a lot of sports books make you lay extra juice. Some of them won't even let you do it, and they'll cut you off from doing it. So that tells you right away that you've got an edge doing it.
Yeah, that's facts right there. NFL, like you said, where they have the tightest lines, that's definitely the place to do it. Packers, -8, definitely a really good teaser spot. 6-point teaser, you're teasing it to -2. Then they basically just need to win by a field goal. I couldn't talk a single person out of doing the Packers with the Bucs in a teaser in that one, my guys, or even with SMU tonight. But yeah, I even lean the Packers at -8, to be honest with you, Steve. I think this they can win this game by double digits. I see a flat spot coming for the Giants, and I think Rodgers will want to look good with basically the whole world watching this one. And I really feel like they were kind of looking ahead past the Patriots. The Giants don't have near the Patriots the defense that the Patriots do as well. Quarterbacks banged up. Heavy lean to the Packers -8 in that one, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of New Orleans real quick. We have the Saints laying 5.5 at home versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Saints did come off a London game last week, Steve. Those teams usually have the bye week.
Yeah.
Neither teams have a bye week this week. You have the Vikings and the Saints coming in here off basically short rest and with a long travel. How do you like anything in this Seahawks-Saints game?
It's an excellent point, Jay. It is a little unfair, I think, to make one team go to London and have to come back and play. At least when they both traveled to London last week, like the Vikings and the Saints, and neither one of them, had a bye week, so it's kind of equal. They're both traveling on a neutral field. But, yeah, this is unusual to me. I was a little surprised to see them not get a bye coming in, and I think it's a legitimate handicapping factor. And then on top of that, they're a 5.5-point favorite, right? So it's not like they just have to win. They have to win by almost a touchdown here in what could be a little bit of a flat spot. And it also was a back-and-forth game. That game was tied late, landed right on that key number of 3 we're talking about. There you go, 10% of the time favorites win by 3. The Vikings did that last week. And by the way, that line went from 2.5 early in the week up to 3, 3.5, closed at 4. So it landed right in the middle, as Minnesota was a very public play last week in my Fade the Public video. And, Seattle's another team coming off a high-scoring shootout. They didn't have to punt last week. The Detroit Lions are the first team in NFL history, by the way, that have scored and allowed 281 points or more in the first 4 games. So Detroit's a great offense. They're just as bad defensively. Seattle put up 48 points without a punt with Geno Smith at quarterback. And look, if both teams are a little fatigued, which I guess is possible, maybe the over. I've always said I think when you're fatigued, it shows a little bit more in defense in both the NBA and in football. Over 46 may be worth a look if that's the case.
Yeah, that's a good point. Over in any game with the Seahawks, guys, is not a bad look. But sure. I'm here to tell you, man, the Seahawks defense is terrible. And I'm also here to tell you that their offense won't look nearly as good this week, guys. They're not going up against that Lions defense here. We were on the Seahawks last week, plus the 3.5. Now is the fade spot. Me personally, I like the fade teams that are one of the worst teams in the NFL coming off a win. We have two of them this week. So I know the spot in theory, like I hate the fact that the Saints are coming home off like a short rest, but they've also been losing as well. They also need a win in the worst way. They're coming off 3 straight losses. They're 0-1 at the house. They will win this game. It's just a matter of how many points. I lean the Saints here, minus the 5.5. I might get there. This is a spot play situationally. It's a fade of the Seahawks. It's a buy on the Saints. The Saints have a good enough defense to hold Lockett and DK Metcalf at bay. And if you can do that, you'll easily beat the Seahawks, guys. And I think that their offense will look a bit better as well. Kamara didn't play last week. He didn't even make the trip. So you do have some fresh players. Kamara, Michael Thomas. They had one more player stay back as well. But regardless, I see guys like Olave, Thomas, Kamara, if he plays, I think whoever plays at quarterback, Dalton or Winston, can look good versus this Seahawks defense. So Saints minus 5.5. I like it. I like it, guys. I think it's going to be a play. I'm pretty sure. Let's go over here to the streets of Jacksonville here, Steve. We got the Jaguars land 7 points versus the Houston Texans. You like anything here?
So there's only one winless team left in football after 4 weeks. It's Houston. There's only one undefeated team left after 4 weeks, and that's the Eagles. So that shows how much parity there is in the NFL this season. And the problem with Houston is they can throw the ball. Really bad passing attack, and we all know the NFL is about throwing the ball now. And the reason I bring that up is because if you're taking an underdog that you know is the inferior team here, and I do think Jacksonville's pretty good this year, so Houston is the inferior team, you got to hope they have backdoor cover potential, right? And they're averaging like less than 6 yards a pass, so I'm not sure they can play from behind. Then you've got Jacksonville on top of that running home off a loss, a game in which they played Philly pretty tough. You could definitely say they should have won the game. They had a 5-1 turnover deficit and only lost by 8 on the road against the only undefeated team in football. So Jacksonville's for real this year. Trevor Lawrence is looking like the true number 1 pick. And this is a spot where if you take Houston, you better hope they can win the game outright. And they're the only team in the league not to win a game yet this year.
Yeah, no, that's facts right there. Appreciate my guy Jay Slush in the chat, man. Sound like this is one of his first live shows he's catching. Say, I gotta come and hop in the chat, man. That Jay's always talking about. Appreciate that $20 tip as well.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Jaguars in this one, guys. The Texans, they are the worst team in the NFL. That doesn't mean that they won't cover some games or win some games, but this is not a good spot. The Jaguars are absolutely rolling. If you ask me, it's another game to put into a teaser as well, man. I couldn't talk anyone out of doing the Packers. If you do the Packers Jacksonville teaser, it's a little bit better than the money line parlay. You're getting Jacksonville -1. You're getting the Packers at -2. I fully believe the Jags will win this game, guys. They're coming back home as well. Coming, like you said, Steve, they went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams over there in the NFL. The Eagles were up 14-0 as well before the Eagles like, all right, come on, guys, let's go back and win this game. Like what I'm seeing out of Jacksonville, sitting at 2-2, they will be 3-2 after this game, my guys. So heavy lean to Jags -7. Also, in my opinion, find some type of, like I said, I don't encourage moneyline parlays, but if you are going to do one, do a 2-teamer and try to get it to down at least -110 or some plus money. That's the only time I could say do a parlay or a teaser, my guys. No more than 2 teams. We're trying to get some cash, especially NFL is tough betting in the NFL. Jags -7, heavy lean. They will win, my guys. Find some type of way to get on the Jags in that one. Let's go over here to the streets of Buffalo here, Steve. We got the Steelers getting 14 points, man. First time in a while. Now the Bills land double digits here, coming off a huge game. You like anything in this spot?
Yeah, speaking of moneyline parlays, Buffalo's as high as -900 on the money line as a 14-point favorite. So you kind of know people are going to be sneaking that in as that third leg to make it a free 3-teamer instead of a 2-teamer. And look, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I don't see Buffalo losing this game. The question is, do they win by 14 or more? 14, a very key number. We talked about 3, 7, 10. You know, we don't see as many 14s in the NFL, but obviously a lot of games will land on 14 as well. So this is a solid 14 as we do this show midweek. We'll see if it hinges either way. What's interesting about the public in these type of games, obviously they want nothing to do with Pittsburgh straight up. I think some consensus I saw was like 99% Buffalo to win the game, but to cover, when you get to these double-digit spreads, the public normally doesn't jump on these favorites. They're almost kind of neutral. So I think this line will probably stay at 14. I'm not sure it'll move off of it by kickoff. On the surface, it's not a good spot for Buffalo. Now, catching Pittsburgh at home would normally be a very focused spot. It's also only their second home game of the season. They've been back-to-back road games, but just big picture, look at the setup here. You know, a near miss at Miami after, well, first of all, they beat the Super Bowl champs on the road for Thursday Night Football. They come back, they win a Monday Night Football home game. They go down to Miami shorthanded, they blow that game, almost win. and then they barely win at Baltimore last week. Trail the entire game, kick a field goal with a couple seconds remaining to win. And lo and behold, guess who's on deck next week? At Kansas City, the biggest game of the year probably in the NFL. Not a good spot. If you told me, are you going to play a 2-touchdown favorite? I'd say, hell no. But then again, I don't know if I want anything to do with Pittsburgh here. Their offense is really struggling. They do have a little bit of a catalyst here. If Pickett starts at quarterback, maybe that's the catalyst they need, and there is some uncertainty there. He could come out and be awful. He could also come out and be really good. So a lot of uncertainty here. I don't like the spot for Buffalo, but it's really hard for me to make a case for Pittsburgh otherwise.
This is a huge look-ahead game, guys. These are spots in NFL, man. I may have to take the Steelers here, guys. Literally, this is just the way I look at NFL. This is the Bills do not care about this game, guys. They can win by 3 and they're perfectly fine. They can win by 7 points. They could probably lose the game and not care. Their game of the year is next week versus the Kansas City Chiefs, guys. The Chiefs are probably looking ahead to this game as well. This was the game that kept if you guys remember the epic game, Buffalo versus Kansas City, right, in the playoffs. This was the epic game. They lost 36-42 in overtime.
The coin flip.
Yeah, they're literally. This is a spot. They had this spot circled on their calendar. So what do? I fade them the week before that. Pickett, he's probably a huge upgrade from Trubisky. Now, obviously, you're not in line. You don't want to run to the window betting a rookie quarterback on the road. But the Bills' defense isn't top tier right now with all of the injuries, guys. Oh man. Steelers plus the 14 would be the side, guys. It's literally the only way you look in this game. It's either you take the Steelers plus the 14 or don't bet this game. In all honesty, I'm just trying to I used to get smashed in the NFL. I'm starting to figure this shit out now. I fully believe Steelers plus the 14 is the right side in this game, guys. Simply put, it's really simple that the Bills just don't care about this game. Simple. When your mind's not totally focused, remember what I'm teaching you guys. Get into the psychology of the players.
Yep.
Psychology says the Bills go through the motions in this game. Steelers, off 3 straight losses, I mean, their season ain't going anywhere. It's a Super Bowl type of game for them. Steelers plus the 14, guys. I like it. I'll probably end up putting some on it, guys. It's just what it is. Let's go straight to Tampa Bay here, Steve. We got the Bucs laying 8.5 versus the 4-0 against the spread Falcons here. You like some here?
Well, Tampa, first of all, as we've hinted at, is an excellent teaser play here. So I definitely like Tampa as a 2-team teaser play, taking them down below a field goal. Now, look, mostly 8.5s out there as we're doing this Wednesday afternoon. There are some 9s, and the reason there's some 9s out there is because 9's a dead number, but sportsbooks don't want you teasing this down as easily to below 3. So hopefully the book you have has 8.5. If not, you can always do a 6.5 point teaser to get it down to minus 2.5 from 9. You got to lay a little extra juice. It's not ideal, especially with the Packers because they're minus 8. You don't need that 6.5 point teaser with the Packers, but just something to keep in mind. I like Tampa in the bounce back spot here. A little nervous yesterday. Word started coming out that he and his wife hired divorce attorneys. I think we all kind of saw this maybe coming, but you do worry about a distraction for Tom Brady. I think that's part of the reason he came back to football bold right after retiring. He's talked to the media about some family issues, so I'm a little worried about the focus from Brady, but then again, it could be a motivating factor for him, right? And they're off back-to-back losses, so I don't think Atlanta's as good as their 4-0 spread record, and their back-to-back wins came against Seattle and Cleveland. This is a step up in class. Tampa's had some problems this year, but this looks like a winnable game. I would lean Tampa, but I think taking them on a teaser down to 2.5 or less is probably the safest option.
Thanks. So I'd like to take Tampa. The Bucs, the situation sets up for Bucs, guys. It's Bucs or nothing for me. I understand Brady. I think Brady's shoulder could be bigger than whatever. I like getting into the psychology, and it's not good that he's going through something at home, right? But I think that his shoulder possibly being injured could mean bigger than all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? The guy's 45 years old. I'm hearing people, I'm taking Brady at home. He's not losing back-to-back. The guy's 45 years old. I really don't think people just like grabbing that, like literally. He's 45, but regardless of that,
he's played football, Jay, more than half his life. 23 of his 25 years he's been in the NFL. That's insane.
People don't think about that. They just think about all the money they've made for him. He's Tom Brady. The guy's 45 years old. I think he came back just to lose everybody money, to be honest with you. That's me. I think he came back just to basically have himself humiliated. Maybe the same thing with Jordan, but that's conspiracy theory talking. But you got the Falcons, 4-0 against the spread, won 2 straight won 2 straight games, right? They're not this good. We know that. Mariota's played well. They don't have Cordell Patterson, so their best, basically, best offensive players is likely going to be out this week. It's Bucs or nothing. I'm likely staying off the game. I don't like the price. I would still possibly put them in the teaser. They should win this game with their defense alone, guys. The Bucs defense will stifle the Falcons offense in this game. That's just the way I look at it. Bucs run the ball like Brady probably didn't even have to run it a ton, throw it a ton. Run the ball. Their defense will hold the Falcons less than 2 touchdowns. That's how I see the game. So heavy lean to the Bucs. Too much going on for me, guys. Way too much going on here for me. But heavy, I think the whole world will be on the Falcons here, and I think they may get their teeth kicked in this one. Let's go over here to the streets of Minnesota here, Steve. Vikings land 7 versus the Bears coming off the Vikings land 7 coming off that trip, Steve. You're on mute.
Sorry, I muted it accidentally. Yeah, we got a full touchdown favorite now coming off that situation, just like New Orleans is about a 5.5, 6-point favorite, so it's not ideal. And on top of that, Minnesota's coming off the win. You can say New Orleans off the losses, I agree with you, is probably a little more focused. So you worry about the Minnesota mindset here. The problem is I don't think the Bears are any good. They had that phony win against San Francisco in week 1, and everyone's going to look back and be like, oh, they beat a San Francisco team that's looking pretty good now after smashing the Super Bowl champs. But we talked about it a month ago. Week 1 is like the preseason. You're going to see results that do not correlate to the rest of the season, like Pittsburgh beating Cincinnati, very misleading back then. I think Chicago beating San Fran is going to be another one of those. Their only other win this season was by 3 points against the Texans, who, as we've talked about, is the only winless team in the NFL. When they stepped up in class at Green Bay, they lost by 17 against the Giants. They lost by 8 last week. They failed to cover both of those games. So not a good spot for Minnesota, but I'm not sure Chicago's a team I want to be backing, and they don't throw the ball well. Another situation like Houston where if they get behind, it's tough for them to catch up.
Yeah, that's fake. I'm not trusting. It's real simple with me if I'm a defensive coordinator. Make Justin Fields beat you through the air. It's real simple with me. The Giants could do it. Why can't the Vikings? I don't like the situation, though. Like you said, Steve, they're the ones that's winning. They coming off winning a tough game, right? 1, 2 straight, still 0-3 ATS through that streak or whatever. But I'm not necessarily sold on the Vikings here. They can be really good versus bad teams, which I think the Bears are. But I don't like this point spread, and especially with them coming off the rest. So I would take the Saints because they're in they're a must-win spot. They're must-win Jay. That's going to be another hashtag, but not the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are in a must-win spot. They do have Miami on deck. I don't like the situation, and so when that happens, I stay off. I could actually see the Bears keeping it within maybe 4 points, losing the game, but keeping it just close enough. Not land 7 there with the Vikings. Let's go over here to the streets of Washington, D.C. here. We got the Redskins, the football team, the Commanders going up against the Titans here. They've lost, 3 straight games. Did beat the Jaguars first game, Steve. How are we looking at this game? Should be easy to take the Titans here, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind the Jaguars probably definitely could have won the game. Probably should have won the game. They were winning that game late, and Jacksonville's a pretty good team. So that's a good point, Jay. This might be another one of those week 1 results that, we look back on in a couple months and be like, wow, Washington beat Jacksonville. Washington's won 2 games all season, and they'd be winless otherwise, and they've looked really bad the last 2 weeks, and it's been offense. I mean, they've had 18 total points. Keep in mind, though, they have only forced 1 turnover all season, and that was in week 1 against Jacksonville. They had a 3-1 turnover deficit, still won that game. They've been 4-0 turnover deficit the last 3 weeks. Now, I don't think this is a great defense, so maybe it's not a fluke, but you're going to force some turnovers in the NFL. So they're not quite as bad as they look. And just a little foreshadowing to my Fade the Public video for this weekend on Wager Talk TV. The Tennessee Titans are definitely going to be the most public play this week. They might be the most public play of the season, J Money. So ding, 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 red flag alert. And on top of that, it's hard for me to make a case for Washington. I mean, it's 2.5. Like, why isn't this line 3, right? Why isn't it moving to 3? First of all, do not play Washington at plus 2.5 right now, because this is going to be the most public play of the weekend. You might get a 3. You should get a 3 based on principle by this weekend. We'll see what happens. If not a bad teaser option. I know they're a bad team, but taking them from 2.5 up to 8.5 is a really strong mathematical teaser that you could tie up with Tampa and Green Bay. So this is another good teaser for you this weekend with Washington.
Yeah, I can't give out this play. People would hate me, man, especially if it loses. But I can't. These are one of those games that I literally just bet myself and don't tell anyone.
Exactly.
It's simple. Yeah, I'm not taking the Titans here. It's the square shit ever. Don't get it twisted. Squares can win in the NFL, guys. But this one, the fact that it hadn't moved to 3, over 81% of the tickets coming in on Tennessee. This is the easiest freaking game. People are just gonna look at this. I'm really just trying to teach people, guys. I just don't want you looking at the board and say, oh, it's easy. You always have to look deeper into the game. Doesn't mean that it's not going to cash, but just look deeper into the game. The way that I'm looking at games, obviously Washington coming. I don't think they played that bad versus the Cowboys. Obviously, they couldn't score. It's simple. Cowboys have a really good defense, though. The Eagles have a really good defense. Now, you can't be losing. When you lose to the Lions, that is pretty tough. I did think that there was a look-ahead spot to Philly, but we cashed with the Lions there. But I don't know, man. Maybe Washington isn't that bad, guys. I don't know. I mainly with me, I don't think Tennessee's that good. It's simple. I won't spend too much time on this game. The whole world's going to be on Tennessee. They think shit's going to be easy. They're coming off a division game, which I still think they should have lost. Versus, did they get out-yarded in that game, Steve, versus Indianapolis?
They had a 3-0 turnover edge. That's the only reason they won that game. And it's a good point that we were 4-point dogs. Straight-up dog win against a division team, and they got Indianapolis on deck in a couple weeks after the bye. So it's sandwiched in between those games.
Horrible spot for Titans, if you ask me. Bye on deck. Then they play Indy again, a much bigger game. It's a tough spot. And this is a must-win spot for Washington, guys. I don't bet against must-win spots. It's simple. You guys can do what you want. Hey, if you're betting the NFL super easily, hey, I hope you win. But just know long-term, guys, you will lose. Let's put it that way, man. So some teams possibly could just say auto-fade, but I don't necessarily think so, my guys. Heavy lean to the Commanders for me in that one. Don't be a bit surprised to see them win, and it be the public game of the week, my guy. Just trying to help you guys. The way I'm looking at games, Washington or nothing for me. Let's go over here to the streets of New York here, Steve. We got the Dolphins laying 3 versus the Jets in this one, my guy.
Yeah, obviously a tough Thursday night game for Miami. It was good for us in our contest entry. Of course, I had the Bengals last week. I really liked them on Thursday Night Football. We got everything early, got a jump on that on the market there, and off to that 17-3 start. So we'll see if Miami just bounces back. I think the Jets could be a little bit better. You know, here again, another team. We look back at Week 1. They looked terrible against Baltimore. Everyone wrote them off for the season. They come out as a very non-public play in Week 2, and they beat Cleveland outright. Of course, they had to overcome a 13-point deficit in less than 2 minutes. And then they lose to Cincinnati. I know you love the Bengals in Week 3. I agreed with you on that one. Public was right about that one, by the way. That's like you said, Jay. The public is not always wrong. Like last week, the Cardinals were a public play, and I said in my video, I don't disagree with this. You know, it's like, you know, the public isn't going to always be wrong. I use it as a filter, as a handicapping factor, you know, part of the puzzle that you're putting together. This week, it'll be interesting to see where the public lands on this because the Jets just beat the Steelers outright as a dog. Miami lost outright. Good spot for Miami, but obviously the quarterback situation is a big concern.
Yeah, no, So obviously Tua is out, guys. He's not playing. You will see Teddy Bridgewater in this game. He used to play for the Jets as well. One of the many teams he's played on. Well, I'm looking at this game, man. It's Dolphins or nothing. Simple. Seahawks and Jets. Two of the worst bottom 4 teams in the NFL coming off of a win as a dog. You see what I'm saying? I'd like to fade them the next week, guys. Dolphins, -3. This one seems kind of square. It's always going to seem kind of square fading the Jets. Jets aren't that bad this year, but I know Quentin Williams is out in this one. I see Breece Hall is super banged up, nicked up. He could possibly play, but one big hit away from possibly leaving the game. Y'all know how football is. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And you got Waddle over there. How does the Jets defense stop these guys, man? So I think Teddy Bridgewater can be enough of a game manager to win this game. If you're the Dolphins, if you're trying to have playoff aspirations, you have to win games like this, whether it's Tua or Bridgewater. He is a serviceable quarterback. He didn't even expect to be in that game last week, guys. So now with a whole week of practice preparation, they're game planning for him. I expect him to look a lot better. Not sure who on the Jets defense is going to stop Waddle and Hill, guys. It's always really that simple. You got 2 good cornerbacks. I know Sauce Gardner is not bad, but he's still a rookie as well, man. Hill will have his way with that guy, man. I like the Dolphins in there with land 3, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Cleveland, Steve. We got the Chargers land 3 versus the Cleveland Browns. Chargers pretty banged up still as well, Steve.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumps out to me is just the health of LA. I mean, I think they're definitely the better team, and on the surface, you see this line, you know, you're thinking 3, maybe even get a 2.5. It's actually -3 even, which means it's more likely to hit 2.5 than 3.5. So once again, if you do like the Chargers, you might want to wait on this one, try to catch a 2.5 at some point. I'm not sure that's going to happen. If you like Cleveland, you probably want to grab the +3 now, as it looks like it's more likely to dip below that key number. And I think a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty of the injury situation for LA. I think on the surface, they're definitely the better team. They're coming off a non-impressive win against the worst team in the NFL, Houston, the only winless team. Bad loss against Jacksonville the week before that. They got blown out. Herbert, of course, was announced out, and right before game time, he's announced in, and you got to wonder how much that messed with the team as well. This is a tough game for me to call right now. Cleveland's alternated wins and losses, and they haven't really played anybody. They've probably played the weakest schedule in the NFL this year. Carolina, Jets, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta, and they're still just 2-2 straight up in ATS. That's probably not a good sign going forward.
Yeah, that's a good point there, man. Chargers, they almost let the Texans come back. The Chargers almost let the Texans come back last week, my guys. So be interested to see what happens in this one. We do got some injury info coming out. He's saying Jonathan Taylor is out for sure. We did miss that Thursday game. We're gonna get to that one. I don't know how the hell I missed it. I didn't have the banner up for it, man. But we're definitely gonna talk about that Thursday game. But yeah, nothing from me on this one. In theory, the Browns, they shouldn't have lost to the Falcons there. So it's a tough game. I lean Browns in that one. Chargers are better than they've looked, still banged up. That's a tough game for me, to be honest with you. I'd like to say I lean Browns, but I'm not betting the game. It's definitely a toss-up game. Let's go over here to Detroit versus New England, man. Go to the streets of Foxborough here, man. Patriots land 3. What we doing in this game, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, here again, a lot of uncertainty at quarterback, obviously, and last week, I was okay with Hoyer getting 9.5 because that line would have been like 6.5 at Green Bay with Mac Jones, and then of course he didn't play much at all. Heading into the weekend here, it's still to be determined. I'm still not seeing an official listed starting quarterback as of Wednesday for New England. I'm not sure it matters too much. Obviously, I'd like to have Mac Jones in there, but assuming he's out and we get a backup, this line will probably be around 3 like it is now. Detroit cannot stop anybody. We talked about it earlier in the show. Seattle scores 48 points on the road, did not punt last week with Geno Smith at quarterback. So this is a defensive battle with New England versus an offensive team in Detroit. I like Belichick and the defense. I'll side that way, especially coming off a loss.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nothing for me on this one, guys. I love the Lions, actually. Really good offense, really bad defense. You need to see if their main 3 offensive guys will be back as well. It's a tough game for me, man. The Patriots, listen, guys, they're not the Patriots of old. They still have Belichick. He still can coach up some schemes, but this Patriots team is not the team of old. It's a throwaway game for me, man. I won't watch this game. Have no interest in betting it. Could see the Patriots getting it done. In theory, Zappy did look good last week as well. I'd like to see him in there.
Yeah.
Going up against a pretty bad defense, I have no interest, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to even waste your time. Real quick, my guy in the chat says, do we have anything on, is there some substance to taking teams like before their bye week, or is there actually bye week theory? And me, Steve, I would think that maybe teams are kind of ready for their week off. What's the theory? You're an NFL bettor.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I will talk about the bye week more so coming off the bye week. Looking ahead of the bye week is tricky. I've done some research on that. I don't use that as much, but what I do like a lot is using after the bye week in both college football and the NFL. Because keep in mind, college football gets a bye week also, and right. Just big picture. Here's my quick takeaway in the bye week. It's an anti-contrarian play. It's a momentum breaker. So, for example, if a team's red hot. I remember the Eagles a couple years ago got off to a 3-0 start, and they had to bye in week 4. I'm like, how awful is that? First of all, you want it later in the season when you're more banged up, and they came out cold after that. They didn't need the bye. It broke their momentum. Whereas a team that's really struggling, like Houston right now, the only winless team in the NFL, they need that bye. They need extra time. So I take a contrarian call to the bye week in general, and then that's a factor. It's a filter I use when handicapping. But yeah, hot teams going to the bye sometimes come out cold. Cold teams going to the bye, it's usually a play-on situation for me. That's actually the angle I use. And the other thing I'll say, too, is the over is often worth a look, too, with teams off a bye. Gives them extra time to get healthy and to fix some offensive problems. So never be afraid to play some ugly offensive teams coming off a bye week. Those are some of the best overplays in the NFL.
I like it, man. I always like theories. Like I say, Steve has been betting the NFL professionally for a while now, so we definitely ask him on that. And I just want to address something real quick in the chat, guys. My guy says, it's Fremont. I love this guy as well, man. This probably got every shirt from me twice. You don't think the Bills losing to the Steelers last year is not motivation, Jay? No. Losing to the Chiefs is motivation. That's a spot circled on their calendar. They're going to get ready for their game, guys. They're going to look past the Steelers, don't give a damn about it, can win the game by 3, 4, 7 points, 10 points, and literally be happy as hell. They could probably lose to the Steelers and not care. So no, Fremont, I don't take every game. I don't necessarily look at it and say, oh, I have to take it as revenge spot. Look at the bigger picture, guys. I like it when it's someone I'm liking a lot of things and it's revenge, but I don't take it every single time. I had to teach you guys that in the chat. Just because they lost last year doesn't mean I'm taking it. Let's go over here to the streets of Carolina here, Steve. We got the Panthers getting 6.5. The 49ers, man, they took care of us on Monday night, man. With that great defense, Jimmy Garoppolo can't play. I'm still hyped up off that one, man. But, Niners, can they carry it on the road here versus Carolina, Steve?
Yeah, one thing I love about my Fade the Public videos is when the public they're fickle. The public is very fickle, Jay. They're short-term memory, right? And like last week, they loved the Rams. The Rams are a rare public dog, so I really liked the 49ers Monday night. And now just 6 days later, the Niners are going to probably be the second most public play this week after the Titans, who, as I said earlier, might be the most public play of the season so far. So they lose money fading the Niners last week, and now the public is going to jump right on board with them because they look so darn good on Monday Night Football. But this is not a good spot for San Francisco because, first of all, let's dig a little deeper. They're coming off a Sunday night game in the altitude in Denver, Sunday night primetime, and then Monday night NFC Championship revenge. You're talking about a revenge factor. What about teams coming off a big revenge win? That's a fate I like to look at. And they blew a 13-point lead going into the fourth quarter last year in that championship game just 8.5 months ago. They just got a huge win on Monday night. Now they're playing on the road as a favorite against a team that's struggling. Carolina's just 1-3 straight up in ATS. Commanders and Panthers are the two biggest anti-consensus plays this week. I know it's hard to pull the trigger with either of them. I'm a little more comfortable pulling the trigger, I think, with Carolina than Washington because, first of all, we're getting a lot more points. The look-ahead line in this game was as low as 2.5 to 3, and now it's 6.5. That shows you right there how the public has played a role just based on that one result.
Yeah, no, that's face right there. My guy Ronald in the chat says something I shared about going into the bye week 6-2010, a team going into a bye playing a divisional matchup versus a team looking ahead to another divisional matchup are 21-5 against the spread. And I appreciate my guy Ronald with the stats in there, real big SDQL guy. Yeah, this game's simple for me. I agree that the public's probably going to be on the 49ers. I'm not looking to back the Panthers. I think Rule is really close to being fired. I think he deserves to be fired. He's not an NFL coach. He is better in college. I remember he turned around that Baylor team. Probably should have stayed there. But 49ers, I'm not laying the 6.5 on the road. Even though I lean that way, I'm not laying the points, guys. So and they are coming off a huge game. That was a must-win type of game as well, so they can get back to 500. I don't see them going below 500. So I don't see the Panthers having a chance to win this game. So I'm not taking them with the points. Just hope you guys understand. 49ers, I see them win the game, but I'm not laying the 6.5 with them. Just hope it makes sense. Maybe another good teaser spot. But, yeah, I definitely don't see them dipping below 500. They really do have championship aspirations, my guys. And the Panthers are, come on, man. What are they? Baker Mayfield, man, he might throw 5 picks, man. Seriously. Let's go over here to the Cardinals here. This is going to be on your video, Steve. Eagles laying 5.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals here. No one wants to touch the Cardinals. I'll be honest, I don't either, but it's not a good spot for the Eagles if you ask me, Steve.
I was talking to, I think it was Gabe Morency last night. I was doing his late night radio show. I think we were talking about this. Oh, no, it was maybe another show I was doing. I did a couple of shows yesterday, but what's funny, I dug into this, and I know it's early. It's only Wednesday. I get my public consensus stuff on Friday night. But I'm not sure that the Eagles are going to be that public this week, Jay. And it's mind-blowing to me. I mentioned that, last week the public was on Arizona, yet the money came in on Carolina. I agreed with Arizona last week. And they're not public on Arizona, but I'm not sure they're going to be on the Eagles either. It's going to be kind of neutral from what I'm seeing right now. So for some reason, almost the fact that the Eagles aren't public as the only undefeated team left in the league makes me think the public is on Arizona. It's kind of weird. But, they're liking this Cardinal team for some reason at 2-2. And they're 2-2 against the spread also. Interesting setup here. The Eagles, like you said, could have lost that game against Jacksonville last week. They had a 5-1 turnover edge just to win by 8. And I do think they're a playoff caliber team. I don't think they're the best team in the NFL like a lot of the people in the media are saying right now. Interesting game. I'm not sure which way I'm going on this one right now. I did see some look-ahead lines, at least earlier in the season. Arizona was going to be favored in this game. And now they're 5-point dogs. So that just shows you how much expectations have changed, since the preseason.
Yeah, and usually when it happens, Steve, the Sharps will try to come back and get some of that value with the home
Yeah.
team. I don't get it twisted, guys. I'm not on the Cardinals, but I do talk to a lot of sharp bettors, guys, and I know that I know for a fact they're going to be fading the Eagles here. It's not necessarily it's really after the game of last week where you had both teams coming in super hot, right? Remember, I came on here on Sunday and told you guys that they like the Eagles -6.5. A little nugget to that. I can tell you that they were looking towards fading whoever won that game, ATS. So there was just a look ahead. Whoever won that game, ATS wise, out of the Philly and Jags was going to be a fade the next week. So I'm just here to let you know that my shark. I'm not betting this game, but they will be looking to fade the Eagles after their 4-0 start in this one, and with the look ahead to Dallas on deck, guys. So I'm not sure if it's the look ahead factor, if it's that they started out too well, if it's the travel cars cross country, but they will be looking to fade the Eagles this week after taking them last week. I'm just here to bring you the info. I'm not betting the game. But I could definitely see some sharp money coming in on the Cardinals here. And whether it looks like it now or not, the public will be all over the Eagles. I hear people at the spot saying it all the time. They've been cashing for me, so I'm just going to keep taking them. And I couldn't argue them out of it as well, that you have money in your pocket from them. But that doesn't mean you auto-take them every single week. I'm just here to bring you the info. Let's go to the streets of LA real quick, Steve. We got the Rams laying 5.5 versus the Cowboys. Dak Prescott won't be ready to play in this game, though it's looking like he would. He's not even able to fully grip a ball yet, guys. So you will see more Cooper Rush, and that hasn't been bad for the Cowboys, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say, why rush Dak Prescott back, right? I mean, they've won every game with Cooper Rush. They also won the one game he started last year on the road at Minnesota as a touchdown dog or more. That was a Sunday night game, I believe. He won that outright in his debut. He's now not only 4-0 straight up, but also, more importantly for us, 4-0 against the spread. 3 of those 4 wins outright as an underdog. So there's no question he's been underrated. And let's not forget Tony Romo came in a decade or two ago, I think, in a similar situation, became a pretty good quarterback, right? Tom Brady came in that situation in New England for Drew Bledsoe back 22 years ago or whatever it was. I mean, I don't think Cooper Rush is the next, Romo or Brady. I'm not saying that, but there is a fact that he's better than people thought, and he's obviously been getting it done. We got to look at the results. With that said, though, Dallas played a Cincinnati team who didn't take him serious, played the Giants and the Commanders, who are terrible right now, as we've established. And, this is a little bit of a step up in class, maybe. I mean, on your video, remember the preseason show we did? I said Rams under 10.5 or 10, whatever the season win total. I said it's hard to picture the Super Bowl champs losing 7 games. They're 2-2 right now. I think we can all picture it after Monday night. This is a Ram team that might be a lot weaker than people realize. Oh, yeah. And if that's the case, Dallas could be live again.
Yeah, this Rams team is weak, man. In theory, they are in a bounce back spot. At this, I tried to tell people, man, don't get it. I loved the Rams last year. I was like, this team is winning the Super Bowl. I said it before the season. Said this team is loaded, man. They winning the Super Bowl, and they did, but they lost a lot of key pieces. They have one receiver, guys. They literally try to throw it to him every single play, man, and he still catches the ball. Right, this guy's a beast, man. You could triple team him, he's still catching it. But they kind of have to dink and dunk all the way down the field. They don't have that player that can take the top off like they had Odell Beckham Jr. last year, right? Allen Robinson is not that guy. I'm not sure if he should have stayed in Chicago or what, but I'm worried about the Rams. They look very one-dimensional, right? The defense even isn't as strong. Defensive line is, but the cornerback, the secondary is not as strong in my opinion. So Cowboys could cover another game, man. This Rams team is not and it's crazy, Steve. The last thing I'll say about it, they're still being priced like they're the team from last year. I think that's the main thing.
Exactly.
That's wrong. They're still being priced like they're the Super Bowl type of. This team probably won't even make the playoffs this year, man. Seriously. So, lean the Cowboys there, and they've been hot as well. Now, 2 more games, Steve, and we're gonna get out of here. We got the Baltimore Ravens versus the Sunday night game. Baltimore Ravens versus Cincinnati Bengals, man. Huge game, right? Huge game within the division here, Steve. How are we looking at it?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you talk about like kind of must-win situations, I mean, I think Baltimore obviously has their back against the wall. Tough losses in recent weeks. They blew that 28-7 lead against Miami, came back, got things done against New England, then they blow the lead the entire game they led against Buffalo last week to lose at the wire on a field goal. In fact, I think Joe Ranieri told me this the other day, it's been like 150 times that Harbaugh's had or it's over 100, maybe it's like 150. He's had a lead of 17 or more. I think he'd only lost 2 or 3 times ever, and he's lost twice in the last 3 weeks in that scenario. So something's not quite right with Baltimore in that regard. Does look like Cincinnati's getting healthier. Burrow, of course, missed the summer with the surgery. He missed the preseason. He did not look good in week 1. Let's keep in mind Pittsburgh barely won that game despite having a 5-0 turnover edge. So Bengals weren't as bad as that loss looks. They took Dallas for granted, as we just talked about. It's not like losing to Dallas is a shameful loss anymore. They've looked pretty good. Since then, you had them against the Jets. I had them against the Dolphins. We've gone back-to-back wins in the contest the last 2 weeks as our picks. Tough call here. One thing, the Bengals are 4-0 to the under this year. Defense is playing better than people realize, but it does appear that offense is starting to get healthy and the offensive line is protecting Burrow better.
Yeah, no, that's facts right there. Yeah, real quick on the last game, I'm not betting the Cowboys because they also do have the Eagles on day. It's a tough. The Rams also look pissed as well. They basically got absolutely dominated. So the way I like to look at game, in theory, Rams all week should come in pissed off, ready to smash, but I can't trust them. I'm not betting the game. I just had to clear that up real quick because I wouldn't be surprised the Rams come out and smoke them as well. So, but this game, double revenge, man, within the division from last year. This team lost. The Ravens lost both meetings versus the Bengals last year. Obviously, the Bengals were a really high-flying team last year, going under the radar, made it all the way to the Super Bowl and lost. But they smacked them 41-17 as the underdog in the first game. And then the second game as well, no revenge. For now, land 7.5. 41-21, right? We know that Lamar Jackson was hurt, but still, you got double revenge from the year, from the previous year. The Bengals starting to get a little hot, maybe a little full of themselves, right? Two straight wins. One of them was on short rest as well. I think that was mainly them taking advantage of the Dolphins defense, right? After playing 90 plays, but they do have extra rest. Don't like seeing Ravens players fighting on the sideline, right? I believe that was Peters, the cornerback that was fighting with Harbaugh. I don't like to see inner turmoil like that. It could drive them the other way as well, right? The Ravens, they'll win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I think this is the win one. Like I say, when you have double revenge within a division from the previous year, I only look at the team with the double revenge. So that's the Ravens here, minus the 3. I actually put a little something on the Ravens already in this one. I don't really like giving out the Sunday night game, Steve, because everybody chases their losses with the Sunday night game. So usually I don't give out official picks on those. Personally, I put some on Ravens minus the 3. Last game up, Steve, we have the Thursday night game, the one we should have got to first. Colts plus 3.5 versus the Denver Broncos here. Both offenses look really terrible right now. Lean first half under, Steve. Could you talk me off?
No, I was just going to say, no way I can talk you off the under. I would agree with you. And these two teams are combined 7-1 to the under this year combined. And the Colts have scored 20 or less in every game. Broncos have scored 16 or less in 3 of their 4 games. So, yeah, I really can't talk you off the under in the first half, the under in the full game anyway. On the side, it does look like kind of like last week I talked about a bad spot for Miami. It's always tough for these road teams on Thursday night because they both have 3 days off, but the road team loses a day due to travel for preparation, a little more wear and tear. And then on top of that, you got to play in the thin air and altitude of Mile High Stadium. So I like Denver in this spot. I would lean under as well.
Yeah, no, it's facts. Everybody coming in and chat with we got beat writers in the chat, man. They coming through. Everybody in there. Taylor's out. So that'd be interesting to see what happens. I did think they signed another running back as well. I mean, I know Teddy's real strong on running backs don't matter, and it's all about the offensive line. And he has a good point. Your offensive line is trash, no matter who the damn running back is. So it's a tough game for me. I don't like to bet the Broncos. I don't like the coach, guys. It's simple. I'm sure a lot of people are with me on there, but I don't like the fact that he's in over his head coaching and he's calling the plays as well. I think he needs to defer, at least calling the plays to someone else. Wilson doesn't look good. They have a good defense. Colts have a good defense. I want to take first half under here. If I end up forcing a play on this game and made something, it would definitely be the first half for this total to go under. Not even full game, but the first half total under 21.5. That's the way I'll be looking, guys. That's the show, man. Now let's get out of here, man. Real quick, let's talk about some shirts real quick, man. We got Smack City shirts. Let's get some cash. It's us against the bookies, one of the realest sayings ever, man. That's why I come on here and give out free picks to you guys. Get a shirt, man. We've been cashing out heavy, guys. 4 weekends on the road. jmoneyismoney.com or DM me on Twitter, and let's get in on that. Now, Steve, let the people know what you have going at Wager Talk and any free pick on NFL Week 5, my brother.
Yeah, highly recommend people check out wagertalk.com for my personal best bets. We're off to about an 80% start in the NFL. Of course, we're doing the super contest together, Jay Money and myself. We're 17-3. The two of us are 8-0 in those entries. So we are seeing the NFL well. One of the reasons is because I love to look at public consensus data, and I give you the most public sides every weekend for free on Wager Talk TV. Also do a college football top 25 preview video, my personal power ratings and leans for all the top 25 games on Friday night. Saturday afternoon, we come out with that NFL video. Over 30,000 views combined last weekend for the college and pro football videos. So I appreciate all the support. If you haven't checked it out, go to Wager Talk TV right here on YouTube. Hit subscribe and the bell for instant alerts. Once again, I'm on WagerTalk.com. Steve Merrill on Twitter. 2Rs1L. Follow us on Twitter as well. Look, I mentioned the two most public plays this week are going to be the Titans and are going to be the 49ers. Hard to make a case for the Panthers or the Commanders, but I think I can make a little bit more of a case for the Panthers. I know you're saying you lean Niners, you don't see them losing the game. I don't disagree there, but I could see it being a close game. Currently 6.5. I would definitely wait, though. No reason to play it now. Hopefully you get a +7 by this weekend. I think Carolina gets up to +7 or more. They're definitely worth a look at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point there. That's a good point, man. Yeah, I like him in the chat as well. Philip Lindsay is the guy that they did sign over there. He used to play for the Broncos as well. Hadn't played in the NFL since he was cut from the Broncos. Not a huge prop guy, but you may want to look at Lindsay in that one with some extra motivation, guys. That's how I like to look at props. You got a player you know for a fact he trying to show off versus them boys over there. Broncos do have a nice defense. I'm not playing anything in that game. For me, man, I'm on SMU tonight. One play for next week. I'd say, oh boy, it's gonna be tough, guys. So the top plays I would say from next week would be Saints, Steelers, Dolphins, Saints, Steelers, Dolphins. Heavy leans. I think the honorable mention is the Ravens -3. Another honorable mention. Personally, the Washington Commanders there, man. I see the two the public mainly will be on next week. Falcons, Eagles, and Titans. That's what I see the three most public plays. Maybe 49ers in there as well, public play, but for sure, I definitely think Falcons, Titans, and Eagles, everyone will be on them. They'll think shit's easy. I do think the NFL will kind of revert to the public cashing to where the sharps will start to cash in as well, where those sharp dogs start to cash, man. But as always, be live tomorrow with Thursday night football, free picks, and more week 5 free picks with my guy Shark, and NFL Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, man. If you're not there, you're square, man. We've been cashing out heavy every Sunday morning. We'll be there again, man. Let's get some cash. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate your time. It's us against the Bookies. Let's take them to Smack City. We out.